coming up on another Solo Show adventure.
I'm excited to hear about what Tony Baxter's talk will be like. That's something I'm really excited about.
That to us is just a real massive highlight. There was a VIP package, that was an extra $100, and we just thought, I know it's for charity, but chance of going to have his picture taken and asking questions would have been amazing, but blaming the economy, so I'll just have to make do sitting on row 74 and waving at him.
Stan welcomes Michelle Young from the Disney Dream Girls podcast as we talk Trip Report! As you can probably tell, we really enjoy doing these. The Solo Show, as always, is brought to you by Victor Naraki Realtor, serving Disney and the greater Orlando area with CelebratingFlorida.com and DisneyAtYourDoorstep.com. Realtor Victor Naraki makes living near Walt Disney World a reality, specializing in all the communities surrounding Disney. Whether you're looking to relocate or invest in a new property, maybe you want a vacation home for your retirement. With over a decade of experience in the area, Victor will adapt to your needs, help you find the right property, or get you the best price for your property. Reach out to him today on his website, CelebratingFlorida.com, or at DisneyAtYourDoorstep.com. Follow him at Victor Naraki Realtor on Facebook, and don't forget to tell him that the Solo Show sent you.
Attention please. At the completion of this announcement, the ship's whistle will sound. You may want to cover your ears. Thank you.
Broadcasting from the Solo Studios, located in the tempura batter dipping room of the Finding Nemo Fish Stick Factory, here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, the center of North America, on this little planet we call Earth. This is the Solo Show. On this adventure, Stan welcomes Michelle Young from the Disney Dream Girls podcast to talk about her recent trip to the United States. Some good stuff coming up for you here today, so make sure you stick around to the end and bring your passport to fun and adventure. And now, please welcome your host, the man who's already planning Euro trip to the Tokyo Connection. Here's Stan Solo.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Solo Show. I am Stan Solo as always, and joining me today is, oh my gosh, Ken, you did a great job. You booked somebody, I can pronounce their name, Michelle Young from the Disney Dreams podcast. Hang on. The Disney Dream Girls and unofficial Disney themed the Disney Dream Girls podcast. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Hi, and
your title's too long.
Hey, it's all fun.
What's that? Sorry, you cut out a bit.
Oh, sorry. It's all fun. Nice to be on the show with you.
Yes. So I can tell by your accent that you're not Canadian. Where are you from?
I am from England, and I live in a very rural location in Yorkshire.
In Yorkshire, okay. And I saw on your Facebook post you got snow fairly recently, so you're higher up in altitude?
Yeah, we're about 350 metres above sea level, and we're at the top of a valley, so we get some really bad drifts. But I suppose in Canadian terms, it's a light dusting in comparison.
Well, where I live, we don't get so much. We get snow. It snows pretty much beginning of November, and it's going to be here till April sometime. But it's the cold that we're known for. It's really, really cold here. It's we don't get huge amounts unless we get a big blizzard. I mean, there has been snow up to telephone poles in the past, but when we get big blizzards and snowstorms. So tell me a little bit about Disney Dream Girls. It's a Disney unofficial Disney podcast. It's going to be 10 years this November. You guys are going to be doing this.
I know. Before that, I did a show with another Yorkshire lady called the Mini Minxes, and that sort of stayed around about a year, and that ended. It ran its course, and I kind of enjoyed doing it. So I roped somebody in who I'd actually met because her husband listened to my previous podcast, and they invited us down to meet them. And it was a bit of a weird meeting because he was dressed as the Joker with the full makeup on, and I was dressed up in a Miss Cherry Bakewell outfit down a dark alley. And it was like, really? Should I have really thought about this a little bit more? I've never met these people, but they've turned out to be absolutely fantastic firm friends. And we built the show up about, as I say, 10 years this November.
Wow. So hang on. So this block messages you. It says, I'll meet you in the back lane. I'll be dressed as the Joker. If you let's meet in this dark alley, if you don't mind. And sure. What do you want me to dress up as?
I know. I had been speaking quite a lot to the pair of them on phone, etc. And it was Halloween. I will lay the premise down. It was their Halloween party, so everybody was in fancy dress.
Okay. That sounds good. So when people tune into the podcast, what can they expect to hear?
We chat about food. We absolutely love our Disney food. Between us, we've been very blessed to have been able to go to Disneyland Paris, Disneyland California, and Walt Disney World. I have been on a couple of Disney cruises, and my co-host Jane is going on her first this year. She's very heavily into the whole Star Wars cosplaying realm, whereas I'm more into the Disney princess type things. On our show, we just chit chat about news, we talk about food, we talk about attractions, we talk about history, we have guests, we do trip reports. It's a mixed bag of everything.
Oh, excellent. And for the people listening, I'm actually going to be on the Disney Dreams podcast. We're doing a switcheroo here. So we're doing part 1 today, and when Michelle gets back from her trip, we're going to record part 2, just how we normally do on the solo show. And I guess you thought that was a great idea because we're going to be doing the same thing on your show. So the show should come out pretty much the same week or around the same month, anyways, where I'll be on your show doing a part 1, part 2 trip report as well. So tune in for that, people, if you want to hear how my trip went, because you're coming to America and I'm going to Europe. so this is going to be, we're doing a little switcheroo here. It's kind of unique. How are you getting, I'm assuming you're not going to drive being in England. How are you getting so you got a trip going to Walt Disney World. How are you getting there?
Going to fly direct from my local airport in Manchester, and that is on the 1st of April. So very, very soon. And I'll be there for 13 nights.
Very nice. So pretty much, 13 nights. Okay. And where are you staying when you're in Florida?
Fingers crossed. I am supposed to have the majority of my hotel stay at Pop Century, and then at the end, I'm going to go and stay with a friend in DVC over at Old Key West.
Okay, nice. By the way, nobody calls it Pop Century. They all call it the Solo Studios because that's where I always stay. They're renaming it the Solo Studios. So when you get there, you could just,
It's price efficient. It's got the Skyliner. It does what it says on the tin. The only thing I hate about it, and I fear some other people may have succumbed to the same issue, is the beds leaving that horrible bruising mark around my kneecap because of the very sharp edges on the Murphy bed.
On the which?
On the Murphy bed, the bed that drops down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not going alone. Who are you going with?
I'm meeting a fellow Canadian, a friend of mine called Stephen, and a American friend called Laura. We tend to do a lot of our holidaying together, and we will be spending, I think, 10 nights altogether.
Okay, nice. So that's why the Murphy bed will be down then.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. I've never even seen the Murphy bed down. I've gone to Pop Century plenty of I think I lowered it once just to see what it looked like and put it right back up again, but I never even set it up completely. So I didn't realize that it had the sharp edges and you can hurt your ankles on it.
Yeah, it's lethal, and I normally pad it out now with towels to avoid any further injury.
Okay. Is there anything new coming up on this trip that you've never experienced before? How many times have you been to Walt Disney World?
Oh my Lord. Yeah, probably I'd be saying about 12, 13 times now.
Okay, so you've been plenty of times. Is there anything new on this trip that you're really looking forward to? I'm guessing Tron, if it's
Tron
open.
is going to be a big new thing for me. We have coincided, just by sheer luck, that Tony Baxter's going to be going to deliver some talks over at the Give Kids the World Village. The first one's going to be about Big Thunder, and the second one is about the evolution and the planning of Epcot. And we were able to get some tickets to go there. So that's going to be something brand new. Never met him, never been to the Give Kids the World Village. So really mega excited about being able to do that.
Yeah, that's really exciting. That is so cool. And I'm guessing Guardians of the Galaxy. Are you a thrilled ride person, or do you prefer to?
I love Guardians of the Galaxy. Last year when I went, I was able to ride it 9 times, and I was able to get all 6 songs. So I absolutely adore it. And if I could ride that every day, all day, I would love it. Absolutely love it.
Nice.
So that's a biggie for me. There's going to be a few new places I'm going to go and eat at. I'm going to try Sebastian's over at Caribbean Hotel over there. I am very excited about that because I've never tried there. I'm going to eat at Citricurs, which again is a new to me place. And I've got a fair few places I want to go and try out at Disney Springs. There's a Salt and Straw ice cream parlor there, which I've tried in California. Be nice to see what it's like over in Walt Disney World. And yeah, I've got a lot of quick service places I want to go and eat at. And I think I'm also going to Space 220 to the lounge and Olivia's for breakfast while I'm over at Old Key West.
Nice. So you have Space 220 booked already?
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Literally, I forgot to book it when my ADR book day came out. So literally, I put it into touring plans for their reservation tracker, and they emailed me with a couple of dates. And I was very lucky to be able to snag something really quickly. So yes, I'm very thankful I've got to be able to try out the lounge, because I'm not really that fussed with the 2-course set price menu, because I find I don't get a lot of value for them for what I like to eat. So the lounge menu is great. Oh, and I've also got a reservation for the barbecue roundup over at Hollywood Studios. That opens on the 23rd of March.
Wow. Oh, you got some great reservations. And you got a lot of new things coming up that you've never experienced before. So that is so cool. I'm excited to hear about what Tony Baxter's talk will be like. That's something I'm really excited about.
That to us is just a real massive highlight. There was a VIP package. That was an extra $100, and we just thought, I know it's for charity, but chance of going to have his picture taken and asking questions would have been amazing, but blaming the economy. So I'll just have to make do sitting on row 74 and waving at him.
Oh, geez. Okay. Alrighty. Also, okay, so your co-host, you mentioned, is a big Star Wars fan, so she's going to be going to Star Wars Celebration?
She is, yes.
And she's dressing up as, I think you mentioned to me, as a Boba Fett or and her husband's a stormtrooper or something like that.
I think they're both going as the same, but in the past they've gone as stormtroopers and Mandalorians. They have everything. And even you go sit in the living room and he's got a life screen accurate replica of R2-D2. So it's like just going into a Star Wars cave visiting them.
Okay. If you get a photo of what she's wearing on whatever day, be sure to send it to me. I'm going to surprise her by coming up to her and I'm going to say, hey, are you Jenna from the Disney Dream Girls? Even when she's in costume, I'll see if I can shock her. Don't let her know where I'm doing that, but if she sends you a photo of her costume, send it to me right away and I'll keep my eye open for her because I'll be at Celebration. It'd be awesome if I can surprise her.
That would be so much fun. So much fun.
Alrighty. All right. So you have to go pack because you got a trip coming up. I have to go pack because I got a trip coming up. And we got to record another one on the Disney Dream Girls of my pre-trip report. So we're going to hang up. We're going to come right back and we're going to do this all over again on your podcast.
Awesome.
We're going to take a quick break. We're doing a fun ad and we'll be right back to see how Michelle's trip went. So hang tight, people. We'll be right back.
Now available from the makers of Finding Nemo fish sticks. Are you a busy Mandalorian on the go? Are you tired of your young charge always eating things he's not supposed to?
Hey, spit that out.
Then you need Grogu Nuggets. Now featuring 50% more frog eggs than before. Because, let's face it, a full Grogu is a happy Grogu. Grogu Nuggets. Available now.
And we're back. Michelle's back from her trip to the U.S. I'm back from my trip to Europe and the U.K. And we got a lot to talk about because you were gone for 13 days on this trip.
Such an amazing trip. I am so blessed to be able to get up to this kind of madness. I really am.
That's awesome. Did you try Grogu Nuggets at all when you were at Walt Disney World?
Did I try Grogu Nuggets? No, I did not. I think I only went into Galaxy's Edge the once.
Okay. It has 50% more frog eggs now, I hear.
I missed out.
You missed out. Alrighty. Let's start. I don't want to go day by day, but I thought we would kind of start a little bit from the beginning as far as your flight, how that went, getting to the Walt Disney World from the airport, stuff like that. So what airline did you fly with?
I flew with Virgin Atlantic, and it used to be an airline I went on all my trips, and then they got too expensive, so I went over to British Airways. But because this trip was so last minute, the difference between British Airways and Virgin was quite not much difference. But with British Airways, I would have had 2 stops. So I just thought, you know what? I'll pay a little bit more to get a little bit more convenience. And it was a great flight. I had no problems apart from it was it wasn't overbooked, but it was a full flight and all the families on the flight seemed to be all mixed up and sat at different parts of the plane.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I listened to your trip report on the Disney Dreams Girls podcast, or at least part one of it, and you mentioned that there was a family of like 11, and you had to switch seats, and there was a whole rigmarole, and they were spilling coffee on you, and all sorts of stuff. So listen to the Disney Dream Girls to hear about how Michelle gets her Figment jersey covered in coffee. You can tune into that episode there and hear about that. So you flew out of Manchester. Did you go from Manchester to London, I'm guessing, or was there another stop you said?
It was direct to MCO. So landed at MCO, reunited with the old luggage, which is always a plus point. Since last time I travelled internationally at Christmas, my case didn't come back for 3 days after I did.
Aye.
So, yeah. So I got there. And the first job was really, my intention was to get into the Magic Kingdom. So I hadn't made any transfer plans. I just went straight for the taxi rank and got in a taxi and headed off to Pop.
Okay. Now, I found, I don't want to compare my trip to your trip too much, but on this trip, I took like the biggest suitcase I have, which is like the size of R2-D2. How do you pack for a 2-week trip? Do you take a big suitcase?
I am renowned for overpacking and bringing everything, including the kitchen sink, with me. I am a little bit of a hoarder when it comes to holidays, and I tend to make sure I've got more clothes than I normally do. I normally take lots of ears and handbag changes. This trip I was really minimalistic for me, and I had my cabin luggage bag packed inside my main big supersized suitcase, so that all went into the hold with all my things, and I had a few gifts for people as well. But yeah, I squeezed it all in, and then on the way back I took out the cabin hold bag and I used that for the cabin along with a backpack for all the extra goodies that I bought and brought back.
Yeah, see, that's what I normally do, is something like that. But I normally go for a week. So then when I go for 2 weeks, I found, oh my gosh, I got to use my big suitcase only. And I completely overpacked. Well, you and I would be horrible traveling together.
A nightmare. But I must admit, this trip I was very, very good. And virtually everything I took, I actually wore and used. So I think I did a really good job. But saying that, I didn't pack completely finished till like 10 minutes before I needed to leave for the airport. It was a bit like on the Saturday I was running around the house going, I can't find this, I can't find that. It just reminded me of Kevin from Home Alone when he's running around the house with his hands up and screaming. That was me.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. But yeah, that's how I am also, kind of. I hate to admit it. I used to be a big planner. I used to have everything packed a month ahead and all that. And now it's like, I guess maybe the more you go, you get more casual about it.
Well, I've just had a busy couple of months, and don't get me wrong, I still had a 4-page spreadsheet of all the food I wanted to eat and all the plans that I'd made. But when it came to taking clothes, I was just like, yeah, it'll do.
Yeah, exactly. So how did you get from the airport to the Solo Studios, which some people call the Pops Entry?
I took a taxi from the taxi rank, which was a big mistake because it ended up costing me about $65. Lesson learned, next time an Uber. It was a lot cheaper on the way back. But yeah, I just wanted to get to Pop. My 2 roomies were supposedly arriving a lot earlier than me, so I half expected them to have already unpacked and filled up all the drawers and left no space on the counter for me. But Pop, there was a problem with the room, and the room hostess hadn't clicked the right button on the tablet or iPad or whatever they use, so it kept on showing that the room was unavailable.
Oh, so what happened?
I had to go to the front desk and I said, look, I've got my room number, but I can't get in it. Anyway, they went through it all and they found out the error. They sorted it all out. It was a really good room. It was the first building literally you got to from walking out of the big hall. So I was really impressed. It was a ground floor room. And because my friends hadn't been in and trashed it, I decided to go in, get all my things unpacked. And by the time I'd done that, it was like, gosh, about 20 to 9. And I felt like saying, do I really want to rush to the Magic Kingdom? Because I'm not going to catch the fireworks because they're in 20 minutes. So I thought, you know what? I'll unpack. I'll chill, I'll get everything sorted, and I'll try and get some sleep to get up nice and early for the first day of the madness. And that's pretty much what I did. I did do something really thoughtful for my roomies. I'd got pictures of all our joint trips we'd done before and pictures off their Facebook of their Disney memories, and I'd laminated them and stuck them with blue tack all over our bedroom window so anyone who was going past could see all this. And we had like bunting and banners, and it was
nice.
great. It looked
nice. They must have loved that when they saw that.
They didn't see it. I had to take them out of the room and say,
they didn't see it at all. Okay.
They didn't have a clue. That's my...
All the rooms at Pop Century have pictures of us in the windows. It's nothing new. That was...
Wow.
Yeah. Alrighty. You don't do the mirrors or the Sunshine Flyer? That's like $20 tops.
Well, since you're mentioning the mirrors, I will mention what happened to me on the way back. I had got started. I had got to the front. I had 3 hotels during my stay. I started at Pop, I went to Saratoga Springs, and then I finished at Old Key West. So I'd got all my bags to the front desk by this very nice young man in his little golf cart. He whizzed around and took me up to the front. And I was waiting for my Mia's shuttle. It was due at 6 o'clock. Nothing, heard nothing. There was no sign of it. I was starting to get freaked out because I knew TSA would be really busy. I just wanted to get to the airport. I had a bad experience at my last trip where I ended up getting myself locked the wrong side of security and having to go back through it again, which was a whole nightmare. So I wanted to get to the airport early. So I said, right, I'm going to give them till 6:30. So at 6:30 on the dot, I hit the button and got a $33 Uber to pick me up. He was literally there in 2 minutes, and I just got myself settled in the Uber, going down the road to the airport, and Mia sent me a text message to say their driver was on his way. He had been delayed.
So you paid double of what you would have for an Uber getting there. You paid for your Mears, plus you ended up paying for an Uber going. Oh, did you get a refund from Mears at least?
I did email them and I said, look, I'm really sorry. You've sent me this text message to say that your guy's on the way. Too late, mate. I already had to get an Uber, and they very graciously refunded me the money, which I suppose these did happen, but it just would have been nice for them to text message and say, we're running late.
Yeah, no kidding. You mentioned in part 1 that you were worried about Pop Century because your knees were going to hurt from hitting the corners of the bed. Have you recovered yet? Are you still bleeding? Did you need an ambulance at any point?
I deployed the Michelle-devised bed protection system at Pop Century, and I can happily report there was no bruising because every corner of the Murphy bed was padded with towels. So it wasn't a problem at all.
Okay. Well, that worked out. That worked out good then. Okay, so there's your tip for people staying at Pop Century. Protect your knees by wrapping towels around the corners.
Absolutely.
One of the things you were talking about in part 1 that you were really excited about, and I thought was super cool, was going to the Give Kids the World to see Tony Baxter. He was going to be doing a presentation or a talk or something. Were you able to do that? And if you did, how did that turn out?
I cried. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. We got a taxi to the Give World the Kid village. Once we arrived there were these little golf carts to take us to the right conference suite. And we got there very, very, very early. And there was 2 tiers of tickets. There were the VIPs, and they were already sat down having a buffet lunch. And then there were rows of tables and chairs and things behind. So we got a front row seat there. And my friend Stephen, who's like eagle-eyed, said, Michelle, there's Tony Baxter at the side of the room and everybody's having their pictures taken with him. Well, you just had to. I very fortuitously had worn my Figment outfit. So I had my Figment ears, my Figment t-shirt, my Figment print skirt. So I goes walking over and had a really lovely chat with Tony. He very graciously signed the back of my ears to Michelle, love Tony Baxter, and he was absolutely fascinated by my outfit because obviously the theme of the talk was going to be Epcot and the evolvement of it from initial plans. So I got my picture taken, and that was just like, when you're in the presence of someone who, I've said this before on my podcast. When I talk about inspirational people, I've planned out Tony Baxter's life and shared pictures of him selling ice cream at Disneyland and talking about how he rose to be the creme de la creme and created all of these amazing attractions that I love, and then to be in the presence of him and he's holding the hem of my skirt and signing my ears. I was like, oh my God.
You can't wear those ears anymore. You got to get them framed.
Oh, the ears are getting framed with the picture I've got of him. I am completely. Hang on.
Yeah.
I know this is not for listeners, but yeah, Tony Baxter ears with my name.
Nice.
So yes,
Michelle's holding up her Figment ears with Tony's signature on it.
and then
Very,
he
very
basically about 80 minutes talking about Epcot and how the pavilions came to be, and he shared a lot of detail about the evolution of Figment. And obviously, being the podcaster, and there was no barrier on recording anything. I did record the chat, so at some point I'll be playing around with that and editing and sharing that. But it was really interesting to see how the dragon of Figment came to be the beloved purple dragon that we love today. It was very fascinating because the original concept sketch was he was going to be green.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Did he mention at all why is Figment purple? Did he bring that up at all?
He did indeed, and it's the one little snippet I'm going to share with just your listeners right now because I've not shared it with mine. Originally, the dragon was going to be green, and talks with the people from Kodak about sponsoring a pavilion, and at that time it was not a set pavilion, and they kept saying about the land and they kept saying about the seas, and Kodak kept saying to them, look, this is nothing to do with our product, we want something to do with imagination.
Okay.
And they came up with the idea of the Dreamfinder and the green dragon, and the Kodak people said, our competitors' colours are yellow and green. We are not supporting them with a green dragon.
We don't want a Fuji dragon. Or Fuji film, yeah.
So Figment ended up being the lavender, purple and orange colour we love. And as a nod to Kodak and their colours being red and yellow, he was always wearing a red and yellow jersey to support the Kodak colours.
There you go. I was going to say, why isn't he a red and yellow dragon? But he has a red and yellow shirt. That makes sense. Okay. Oh, that's cool. I never heard that story before. That is really cool. That is great. So tune into the Disney Dream Girls podcast. I'm sure you'll be talking a lot more about your visit with Tony Baxter on there. Yeah. So another thing that you were really excited about on this trip was to ride the Tron attraction. I know you have to get up very early and book your fast passes or your lightning lanes. How'd that go? Did you get to ride Tron? Was it as good as Guardians?
No, it was. A few quick takes about Tron. You have to get your 7 o'clock virtual queue, and the number of people we saw going up to the actual attraction that had no idea what a virtual queue was immense.
Wow.
We were very lucky. We had a pass for the 3rd of April, and then we had one on the opening day. The 3rd of April, we were not permitted to ride. We arrived at... we'd worked it out that it said with your ticket is valid from an hour of opening. So we took opening at 9 o'clock. So we had an hour up to the clock. So we turned up at, I think it was something like 9:46 by the time we arrived at Tron, and they wouldn't let us on. They said, no, it expired at 9:30. So they were taking opening from early opening for resort guests at 8:30. And there was no...
So that's how it was worded, an hour from opening? It wasn't worded from 8:30 to 9:30?
No.
Crazy.
And we argued they were not for having it, so we tried again on opening day. We got a reservation. We also went into the Tron merchandise store, and I found it very, very good that if you did the mobile checkout, you were still able to pick up the annual pass holder items, even though you might not have been an annual pass holder.
Oh, really?
Nobody was checking. Now, I will be honest, I bought nothing, so it was not me, but I know a few people who were doing that. Now, I'm not saying they got the annual pass discount, it's just that they were able to pick up and purchase the annual pass t-shirt or the annual pass pin.
Okay. Now, I'm not a big fan of the annual pass merchandise. I guess maybe now they're starting to open up annual passes a bit more. My problem with the annual pass merchandise is, especially post COVID, was you couldn't get an annual pass if you wanted one. So I don't agree with them selling annual pass merchandise anyways, personally. I mean, I guess now it's a little bit, they're starting to open up more annual passes for people, so it's a bit better. Having said that, I do collect the trash cans, pepper shakers, and there was annual pass one. It was only available for annual pass holders, and I kind of begged and pleaded with a cast member one time, and she went and got a manager, and the manager was willing to sell me one without an annual pass. So I know. It's interesting. That's interesting for sure. That if you want to get it on the app, you can.
Well, it worked that morning. Anyway, so we went over. Our return time was 11:45. So we went up at 11:45 to go and have a wander around. And boy, oh boy, the queues were backed up, something chronic. And if you got a virtual queue, i.e. you didn't pay for a lightning lane, there was no shade. There was just occasional umbrellas. Well, it was a scorching day, 90 degrees, and it was really hard work waiting I'd say about a good 25-30 minutes in that blaring sun. It was very hard. And then you scanned in and you go to the lockers. On the first ride we had, they were allowing gentlemen like yourself wearing the baseball hat to keep them, and there's a little storage place on the Tron cycle that you could put it. However, on the second time we rode it, they were not letting any baseball caps being taken into that area at all.
So you had to use the lockers then?
Yeah, everything in your locker. For me, who doesn't have a magic band, the only way I could have proved that to open my locker was either my mobile phone or my hard physical plastic credit card ticket. So I had to take both of those with them, and I stored them on the vehicle. I got on the vehicle, no problem. The queue line itself, there is a very nice little cute little wow moment, which I won't spoil, but it is pretty awesome.
Oh, cool.
Once you're in the building itself, it's not a very long wait. As I say, you do the lockers, you do this sort of like pre-boarding area, and then you go down a rampway where everything is high-tech and glass. Oh my word, the poor cleaners are going to be cleaning that glass forever. Because even on the, children had obviously wiped things all over it. It's Lake Central.
Oh man.
So
okay. Now, hopefully they fix the issues with the scorching heat in Florida with that queue. I have faith that Disney will eventually put fan misters and shade up of some sort, I would imagine.
I'd hope so by at least August, because that's when it's... But I suppose the second day when we went, the virtual queue wasn't as backed up, so it wasn't a problem. We literally got fairly quickly into the building. So I suppose it just depends if they're running slow, because every time I got to go on the ride, some people were trying to get onto the ride vehicle, and they found that not necessarily the restraints weren't clicking, but the position that you sat in is very heavy onto your chest. And a fair few people we'd seen in further rows had to be taken off and then wait for the seated version at the back of the roller coaster.
Oh wow! So that is a bit of an issue then, for sure.
Yeah.
How was the ride itself? I know you're a big fan of the Guardians attraction. Does it measure up?
No, it's a completely different beast. Completely different. I suppose if Disney would have built this within 2 years and we would have been riding it for the last 3, then I think the technology side of the actual attraction would have been okay. I think now, because I've ridden something as high-tech and multi-sensory as Guardians, that Tron just doesn't have that level. It is a very smooth, fast roller coaster for the Magic Kingdom. It has the outdoor element, the indoor element, and it is very good. It's an enjoyable roller coaster. But would I stand and queue for it for more than 45 minutes? No. Would I pay for a lightning lane for it? No. But would I want to go on it? Sure. When my husband and I are together, he's a massive Tron fan, so he will want to ride that, and I will quite happily do it, because it is a very slick roller coaster. It is. I personally just find the seating position, being a lady of a very curvy nature, not very comfortable on my chest.
Yeah. Oh, I'll never ride it, so it doesn't matter to me.
Well, I would say that one of my friends has ridden it on a bike, and at the back on the sort of all-encompassing, all-fitting magic seat. And he said that is actually you're sat in a comfortable position and you're at the back of the roller coaster. And as we were looking and watching under the canopy at other people riding, there's so many people trying to actually sit up as they are riding the vehicles. So, or people standing with their arms up in the air doing the, whatever. So it's a good ride, though.
Yeah, interesting. Let's talk a little about some food here. I know you were trying some new places you've never been to before. You had Sebastian's Bistro booked. Did it live up to your expectations?
I would highly recommend Sebastian's to anyone who wants to go and have a good quality, eat as much as you care to enjoy meal out of the chaos of the theme parks. It's so easy to get to on the Skyliner, with it being over at Caribbean Beach. Fantastic starter. The mains, basically as much as you want. If you wanted more of the steak, they went and got it. It was incredibly flavoursome. It was a really tasty meal. The staff were fantastic. Beautiful interior of the restaurant. The only thing that sort of put a bit of a blight on my meal was my friend very unexpectedly turned very, very unwell. So I had to literally grab the dessert in a box and go and get him back to the resort because he was incredibly poorly. But for the price point of under $40 for a 3-course meal with a cold soda with that as well, incredible value for Walt Disney World.
Excellent. Good to hear. The other one was Citrico's over at the Grand Floridian. As good, just as good, not as good. Oh, you didn't go. Okay. You didn't go to Citrico's. You canceled it.
I cancelled. I had a look at the menu, and this was after having 2 trips to the outlets and buying 1 or 2 pieces of merchandise. I was thinking, do I really want to spend $70 on a meal? And the answer was no. I'd already been to the barbecue rodeo roundup restaurant and paid $60 for a meal there, and I was like, do you know what, I'm quite happy with something else and I'm not going to waste the money. But yeah, where else did I try eating? Oh gosh.
Well, hang on, let's talk about Woody's Roundup Barbecue then. You mentioned you went there, so how was that?
The service was attentive but slow. We were in there 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Now,
it's a long dinner.
I know, it's a long dinner. And sometimes we were sort of waiting for him to catch his eye, and it just took a very, very long time between food. The biscuits at the beginning were very cheesy, and they had this red pepper jelly with it. Oh my God, I could have bathed in it. It was so good. I literally could imagine myself in a big bathtub with these cheese biscuits and just spooning it. Oh, yeah, I was in heaven straight away. Then we had this big family style meal, and we could have selected whatever sides. To be honest, the staff don't care. They'll bring you every single thing you want. So we had our everything. The chicken was a little bit dry in the barbecue. My friends enjoyed the sausage. I enjoyed the brisket. They brought me some of the plant-based options, the cauliflower and the Impossible rib chop, just so that we could try them. And then in true Michelle style, got to research for the listeners. I tried every dessert.
Very nice. Every dessert. Wow. Now, so that sounds really good for $60. Or what did you say, 60, 69?
It was $45, and then I left a tip. So it rounded up to 60.
Yeah, so you got steak and chicken and every dessert and cheesy buns and dip so good you could bathe in it. That sounds like. Was there any fun stuff in the restaurant? Like, it seems like a very fun restaurant. Like, I've never been since it's open.
Every now and again, you'll have Sarge coming on the overhead speakers saying something. So it could be there's a lemonade sale, there's a yard sale, or something along the lines to say Andy's coming. And literally, when Andy was coming, everybody, and I mean everybody, froze. And it was for like 5 seconds. And it was quite comical seeing the waitstaff literally with plates of food freezing. The only people that didn't freeze were all the internet vloggers all the way around me who were filming it like crazy to prove people actually.
Oh, that is so fun. So is there music playing? So when everybody freezes, is it just quiet, or is there still music going?
Not a sound.
That is cool.
It is just, I don't know how much longer that will actually keep up because 3 freezes in the 2.5 hours we were there, and it was like, my dinner's getting cold. I just want to eat my dinner.
Yeah. I could picture some kids being rangy and all that, and the parents are like, please give us 5 more seconds of quiet and make another announcement.
They're paying Sarge by the dollars, sort of say, can you keep it up for 30 minutes?
How about the Salt and Straw ice cream parlor at Disney Springs? Did you make it there?
I didn't. It was such a long way from where I actually was spending most of my time, which was Gideon's. I didn't have a chance to get over there. I did visit Swirls on the Water to try some Dole Whip there. And I went, I think 3 or maybe even 4 times. Please don't tell my dietitian that I went to Gideon's and bought cake. Oh my word. I know people rave about the cookies, but for me, the value is in those cakes because they're like a hunk of cake that took me 3 days to get through.
Oh, that is so cool. The other place you had booked was Lounge or Space 220 at the Lounge. Did you end up doing that?
I cancelled that one too. Yeah, I know things just happened, and it was like, do I want to go to Space 220 or do I want to spend some more time in the Magic Kingdom? And because we managed to squeeze in a last minute dining reservation for Trails End before it closed, we literally was in the last 2 days of operation. It clashed time for Space 220, so I cancelled the 220 and I went over to Trails End, and you know what, the food at Trails End was amazing, and it's quite upsetting to see such amazing quality food disappearing from the theme parks because they're changing it over to some sort of marketplace type design.
Yeah, I love Trails End.
So good.
Yeah. I'm sure it's going to keep a lot of the same type of food and whatnot. I think it's just going to be a change in look more than anything.
Yeah.
Any special magic happen on this trip?
I had 2 special magics. So the night of the 3rd, we was in the Magic Kingdom, and our friend Laura is an annual pass holder, and she was unable to get a park reservation for Magic Kingdom for the following day because she wanted to ride Tron in the morning on opening day. So we went to...
Where is Laura from again?
She's from the US.
But not from Florida?
No.
So how did she... I mean, like, she's an annual pass holder. She didn't have anything booked for that day, or she had a different park booked?
No, well, I don't know why. For some reason, she just wasn't able to get an Epcot thing, because this was a fairly last-minute trip. All the annual pass park reservations for Tron for that day were booked. So we went to see at the Chamber of Commerce if there was anything they could help with. And they said, look, I'm really sorry, we can't. And I said, oh, it's okay. This trip is just turning into, one of those things where nothing seems to go our way. We couldn't get this reservation. And look, I've been in the House of Mouse for 2 days and I've not even had a Mickey bar. And we were all being very much in jest. We weren't angry. We were having a good chat with the cast member and she was lovely. Anyway, she said, look, just give me a minute. Anyway, she went round the back. And she came back and she had a voucher for not 1, not 2, but 3 free Mickey bars.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I'll take a Mickey bar over a Tron ride any day.
Absolutely. I'd sell my soul for a Mickey.
Yeah, no kidding. I love it when cast members do that. Like they take something what is potentially a bad experience and they flip it around, and it might not be what you wanted, but you end up leaving happy.
Well, we would have left happy anyway because she was so polite, and we knew there was no chance of getting it. But do you know what? Sometimes if you ask, Disney can do a bit of magic. And to be quite honest, she had very luckily already ridden it because she bought a lightning lane earlier in the week. So it was good.
Yeah.
A bit of magic waiting on my last day at Epcot, waiting to go home to get the cases, to go to get the Mias that never turned up. And I was the only person at the bus stop at Epcot waiting for a bus to Old Key West. And this driver pulled up and it didn't say Old Key West at the front, it said Magical Moments. So I got on board and I got chatting with Jacob, was his name, and he said, oh, it's just my job just to go driving around. If I see anybody at the bus stop, I just pick them up and I take them to wherever. So he literally brought me in the bus on my own, and he literally dropped me off right outside my room at Old Key West. And that was it. That was so magical because I was
That is,
tired.
I've never heard that before, ever. That is incredible. I've seen those magical moments buses, and I just figured it was somebody in training or something.
That's what I thought. And I said, oh, what does that mean? And we ended up talking for quite a long time about Yorkshire tea, which is, I'm sorry, Americans don't know how to make tea properly. But I did teach him how to make proper tea by the time I got off the bus. And it was so lovely. We talked for 20 minutes about everything and anything. And it was so magical that Disney think, well, we've got this overstaffing here and we'll just have him driving around. And if there's a queue of people or one person, he'll take them back to the resort. And it just, normally at Old Key West, they drop you off right at the beginning and then they go round all the stops. It took me straight to my stop.
That is amazing. That is good. I love hearing that. I absolutely love hearing that because I hear so much negative stuff about Walt Disney World and the Disney Corporation lately. It's so cool to see something like that is still is happening. I'm amazed. That is great to hear.
Yeah, I think sometimes if you're a positive person, positive things happen. And when we go around the theme parks, we try to be nice to other people. We use our manners. We always smile at the cast members. We use the names and, we do little bits of magic as well. And I think if you go into the park with a negative attitude and your mindset isn't right and it isn't magical, then you're not going to have a magical experience.
Yeah. And the other thing too is I think if you go in looking for magic, you're not going to find it. If you go in looking for something free or something that's come your way, it's not going to happen. It has to just happen organically.
Absolutely. And I've been very fortunate over the times. I've had some nice magic. Normally I take stickers with me or little treats for kids and things like that. And we give them out mainly as a bribe to stop them screaming in the queue. But it is a nice thing, nice and happy and content. Because boy, oh boy, some parents really need to remember that my child needs to go and have a rest in the resort between 2 and 4 because making them last 16, 17 hours isn't fun.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And that's one of my key tips is to take a midday break, especially if you're traveling with a group or even like I travel solo or you travel solo. Obviously, do you take midday breaks from time to time or is that?
Yeah. And it worked really, really well to our benefit because even if we just went back for an hour and a half and changed clothes or had a shower or sit down and eat one of the many umpteen 700 cakes that we got from Gideon's, we really felt recharged and we went back out. One night, we'd been in the theme parks till, I think it was about 8:30. We'd had enough. We went back to the room. We were staying at Old Key West. It happened to be the night that Old Key West and Deluxe Resorts had extra magic hours in the Magic Kingdom till 1 o'clock. So we said at 9:45, right, let's get a minivan, take us straight to the Magic Kingdom. We got to the Magic Kingdom just before 10 o'clock and we had 3 hours of a virtually empty theme park. And it was bliss. It was absolute bliss. We got on every single attraction we could have possibly wanted to do. And
not only did you have an empty theme park, you were very, very refreshed because you did take that break at 8:30.
Absolutely, yeah. I was full of energy. I had 2 hours just sort of sat doing nothing. And who in the right mind would normally think of going into a theme park at 9:45?
Yeah, exactly. Anything happened on this trip that kind of caught you off guard, or was a surprise that you could think of? Anything that happened that you weren't expecting to happen? I mean, other than you got the amazing, magical, free Mickey bars and the deluxe ride back to your room, Queen of the Bus back to your room.
Yeah, and meeting Tony Baxter. Wow, I didn't expect that. The Tony Baxter meet. I expected to hear him talk. I didn't expect to get a picture. And anything else? I don't really know. I suppose I could maybe count this, although you're a guy, you might not get this. We went to the outlets and we found out that the Vineland outlet was literally $10 in the Uber. So we went and we got there for opening and I was able to pick up a Coach handbag for $80. And for those of you who like Coach handbags, knows that is a bargain.
That is definitely a bargain. The outlet mall is a go-to for me. I love the outlet mall. I usually go there the day I arrive. I try to get there as early as possible into Orlando. And I'll go I won't even check into my room. I'll just get dropped off. If I take if I don't have to carry my suitcase, but nowadays you have to bring your suitcase. But back before you used to bring your suitcase, I would get off at the first stop and go straight to the outlet because the Magical Express would drop you off we would have different stops. Yeah, I'm going to Pop Century, but I'll get off at, Art of Animation because that's the first stop. And then I'll take an Uber from there straight to the outlet mall. And I would tell the driver I'm getting off here. I'm not going to Pop after all. And he would always look at me weird when I did that. Are you sure you don't want to go back to your go to your resort? No, I want to start the magic right now. And I would take the Uber to the outlet mall first thing.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that outlet mall. How was your flight? Your flight home?
The flight home, actually, apart from being a little bit upset that I was going home, was really good. I had a little bit of pixie dust happen on the way home. They were using at the gate, the loud tannoy was asking for anyone who wouldn't mind sitting in the exit seat. So I went forward and said, look, I'm a single traveller. I don't mind where you sit me on the plane as long as I've got extra leg room, which is what I've paid for. I will quite happily sit anywhere else. And he said, are you sure? I said, yeah, as long as it's got the extra leg room. So he moved me about 2-3 rows back, but it enabled a family to sit together. And this time, and I didn't ask for this, he gave me a complimentary $50 voucher to use on duty free.
Wow. That's great.
So I got some nice perfume. I still had a nice seat and had the bonus of knowing I'd helped a family all sit together, and I didn't get tea poured over me this time.
Ah, nice. Food was good on the flights?
Food was really good on the flights. I was really, really very, very impressed with the quality of the service with Virgin. They have about 3 or 4 alcohol beverage services. Then on the way out, they had a full meal. Then they came round with like a popsicle and then an afternoon tea with jam and scones and little finger sandwiches. On the way back, we had another big cooked dinner. And then we had a breakfast box, which wasn't as good. It was muesli and yogurt, but that's only down to me being a weirdo who doesn't like either of them.
I never heard of having popsicles on a flight before.
Yeah, Virgin Atlantic normally do an ice cream, and I've had it as well on British Airways. If you imagine you're on a 9-hour flight, or sometimes when I'm going to California, it's 11.25 hours. It's really nice to have a nice lolly or an ice cream.
Oh, for sure. That would hit the spot for sure. Did you see me waving at you? I saw your plane as we were passing across the ocean there. I was waving up my window. You had an aisle seat. You wouldn't have seen me. I was waving to your plane.
I wouldn't. Really sorry. I should have asked the captain to do some skydive writing to say, hi, Stan.
Yeah, we should have done that. It would have been cool. We could have done a virtual high five on our way passing each other. This was a lot of fun. So listen to Michelle Young, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on your co-host's name. Jane. Yeah. So listen to Michelle Young and Jane on the Disney Dream Girls podcast. I was actually recently, it's been a month now. It's been forever since we talked to each other, it feels like, because we're both gone for 2 weeks, and then we weren't able to hook up the week we got back. So we're finally getting together. It was April 9th show. I was on the Disney Dream Girls podcast. You can tune into that and check out their podcast. I'm assuming your snow is all gone, because we talked about that in part 1, how you had snow.
Yeah, no snow, although it has been rainy today, but yeah, no snow, all is good, all is happy, and now it's countdown to the next Disney trip. Woohoo!
Nice. Yeah, I might have a little bit of snow in my backyard still. It's just about gone, I think. It might be gone now. I haven't looked this morning. There was a little itty bitty patch there, but I think it's all gone now. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a blast having a chat with you, and you'll have to come back on our show to tell us all about your celebration and tour of Disneyland Paris.
It's interesting enough. So I listened to yours and your the podcast where you were talking about Star Wars Celebration that your co-host went to, and pretty much everything that she said is exactly how I felt. But Friday, the Friday was overcrowded for sure. But Fridays always are. The first day of any big convention is always packed the first day, because nobody knows where to go or where to do or how the flow of things work. And it seems to get better as the days go on. But everything that she said, 100% I agree with. So if you want to find out what I think about, we already did a Star Wars Celebration cap, but check out the Disney Dream Girls podcast and hear their review on Star Wars Celebration for sure. But I'd love to come on, having said that.
Yay! We can talk about Disneyland Paris. I love Disneyland Paris.
Oh, I want to go back. I actually want to go back to Disneyland Paris more than I do Disney World, to be honest with you.
Oh, well, I was talking to someone this morning who literally is in Tokyo right now. And from what he was saying, I want to go to Tokyo because the value for the money at the moment and the exchange rate and how cheap it is to eat food over there in the parks and the ticket cost and the hotel cost, so cheap.
My wife and I were just talking the exact same thing this morning. I said, once when you take away the cost of the flights, it's cheaper to be in Tokyo than it is to be in Florida.
Yeah.
So
those alien nuts are like $3.
Yeah. So I'm planning 2025 Star Wars Celebration in Tokyo. That's the goal. So if you want to go with me, let me know. The more the merrier. Alrighty. This has been a lot of fun. And Ken, take it away.
If you have a brilliant idea for a future edition of The Solo Show and would like to take your turn in the guest host's chair, then drop us an email at thesoloshow01@gmail.com. Tell us your idea for the show, and we'll contact you about a date and a time for you to join us. If you would just like to keep the conversation going or have a comment about a previous show, then visit us on Facebook at The Solo Show. All logos, sounds, and songs that are made by and for Disney and its affiliates are owned solely by the Disney Corporation and are not, nor are they intended to be, the ownership of The Solo Show podcast. We hope you'll join us for the next adventure on The Solo Show. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.